House tonight, Tim and Ted in the house.
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
Welcome aboard. Nice to have you in on this muggy. It is muggy, is it not? Muggy Tuesday night. A little muggy at the State House. A lot of people are dripping with sweat, worrying about the kind of pressure that Target 12 has put on it, and some other conversations as well. So with a lot going on, there's nothing better than having, Ted and I had a good argument last week. I don't remember how we've been trying to strategize how we can pick up the argument. We're getting old. Well, he's not, but I am. Sometimes I can't remember exactly where the argument started and where it finishes, but Tim and I never argue, so that's how that's going to go. Can I just show you some headlines from the Target 12 outstanding work? A story that has just, it has, I don't know if I would say it has legs or it won't die because we can't get they can't get the latest, most complete detail on it, and you just see all these headlines on Mr. Montanaro Jr., who was a former state rep and now heads the Joint Committee on Legislative Services, meaning that's the operational hub of the legislature, appointed by the Speaker of the House. And, you know, he's part of the crew over there, but everyone's kind of like, oh, I don't know. This story here talks about the Republican Party's latest move to Tim's original work. It all comes together as it always does.
In a letter to the Board of Post-Secondary Education, which oversees state colleges,
this is not okay.
State GOP Chairman Brandon Bell is asking for an investigation into more than $49,000 in free tuition given to family members of Frank Montanaro Jr.
But at this point in time, the taxpayers are entitled to their $50,000 back.
The letter asks to find out if the tuition was signed off on by college officials, and if so, explain to the public how and why Mr. Montanaro received special treatment.
What was signed, who gave permission, were any phone calls made, any special deals made in order to get those tuition waivers.
As Target 12 first reported, Montanaro was picked by Speaker Nicholas Mattiello to be the top administrator at the State House in 2014, making more than $155,000 a year. Montanaro asked to be placed on leave from his old job at Rhode Island College for 3 years, and during that time, he was still able to secure 12 semesters of free college tuition. Montanaro has previously told Target 12 he had permission to do so.
Again, it's a benefit afforded to me as a Rhode Island College employee, as well as all other employees in the higher ed system.
In a statement, the Commissioner of Post-Secondary Education tells us they are engaged with Rhode Island College to understand this particular situation.
Come on. What? They're engaged with Rhode Island College to try to understand this particular situation. You'd think this was the code to nuclear war here, for crying out loud. You know? Great work as always, the both of you.
You know, if you can't remember how a fight started, that sounds like a marriage. You just don't even know we're so far into the fight.
Well, you know, he'll learn, you know, right? It's sooner than later. You want to start from the beginning? I mean, that set the table. You want to start from the end and then go back to the beginning?
I think interesting on this story, and I'll be quick because I might have said a little of this when I was on with Dan McGowan with you last week, that we did not get a tip about tuition benefits.
Right.
Tim got a tip from, we still don't know who the person is in real life, an email tip. He gets a lot of these. I get some, he gets more. Just saying, sort of frustrated with a feeling that the State House...
I get a bunch and then I give them to you.
Yeah, well, and we take them gladly.
Yes, right.
Yeah, we don't give you away as a...
That's not always true.
Protect your source. Yeah, exactly. And the tipster seemed to be aggrieved at feeling that the State House, the culture in State House Democratic leadership was not all it should be, and said, you should look at Frank Montanaro. Why was he on leave from Rhode Island College for 3 years? Just said it, and in a big stream of consciousness long email. And first time I'd ever heard that. I didn't know that he'd done that. And so we did what you do, you check. So we emailed Rhode Island College's spokeswoman, asked, is that any truth to that? And she said, oh yes, actually he's going to be done next week after 3 years of leave. And so we were like, well, why would you want to be on leave for that long? He had a much better job now at the legislature. And one of us was like, I think, well, you get tuition. Maybe is that anything to do with that? And just again asked, and then boom, and then that sort of spurred the story from there, which I just think is kind of interesting. People, you know, might think sometimes we get this pitch. I wish the tips always came totally gift wrapped, but this we've been as surprised as we've reported as anybody.
So you kind of walked into it. I mean, the average, I mean, or the contractual agreement with the Rick management union is for what, 6 months of
Leave to protect status.
Leave to protect status, meaning you can seek another opportunity, and if it doesn't work out for you, you can go back to your gig.
The way it's been described to Ted and I is usually this leave to protect is 6 months, but it can go for a year, and it's supposed to expire after a year, unless you get special dispensation, you know, from the administration to
Though even
keep
there,
going.
and I don't want to get arcane on people, one thing we've encountered is how many discrepancies there are between different policies. So there's a policy plan for the state for personnel that says these leaves, the maximum you should get is a year. But Rick has negotiated with Mr. Montanaro's union that you can renew it past a year. So I will say a lot of what we found is that there was always a special clause, you know, at the end of a paragraph saying you can't do this unless someone lets you. And Mr. Montanaro repeatedly, so far we're told, has gotten someone to say, yes, you can have that.
These guys are not dumb. Frank Montanaro Jr. is not dumb. He's a smart guy. He and his family have been in the system, so to speak, for a long period of time. I doubt
his father was a famous labor leader.
Sure. I doubt that he would ever do anything that didn't have some typewritten line and some agreement and some drawer securing the behavior, right?
Possibly. We can't get all the documentation that we've requested. Montanaro and Rhode Island College said they had a settlement for that third and final year to put an end date.
Settlement connotes that there was a disagreement.
So I had the same reaction to it in my interview with Frank Montanaro. I said that very thing. It just sort of implies that there was some friction there. And he sort of remembered that, Ted, there was that pregnant pause, and he was like, I wouldn't say there was a disagreement, but yes, I would say that if you need a settlement, that means you need a resolution to something. Rhode Island College won't give us that settlement agreement. They say it's part of his personnel file. During the interview, Mr. Montanaro had said that whatever documentation Ted and I needed, just ask and I'll get it to you. So after we couldn't get it from Rick, we asked Frank for it, and he had a change of heart. He wouldn't supply that. So yeah, you're probably right. There is a
settlement connotes. I mean, listen, you guys have been working the story intimately, so I'm guessing your instinct might be similar to mine, which is Rick officials going, we're kind of pushing the envelope here a little bit with this leave to protect status.
Well, it's also, I think, what's
some
important,
agent of Mr. Montanaro or himself pushing back, somebody influencing the stretch to a 3-year period of time.
Those are the questions that need to be answered. Would a regular Joe Blow, Rhode Island College employee, very low on the totem pole, without a friend who happens to be Speaker of the House, get 3 years worth of extensions on leave to protect? Maybe. I don't know, but I think those are the things that Ted and I are trying to find out. Was there special treatment here? Why was he able to extend it for that long?
Was he on a health benefit program at Rick, or did it transfer to the State House?
The only benefit that we can find that transferred from Rhode Island College to the State House was the free tuition.
Or not, once he transferred, it was still being given to him as a Rick employee. And if you think about it, that might make sense, because there's nothing else he would need from Rick that he couldn't access in his high, 6-figure State House job. They have great health insurance, they have days off, they have a pension, etc. But they don't have, to my knowledge, a free tuition benefit. So that's the thing he would. Now, we should say, Ms. Montanaro told us, he's like, I just wasn't sure if I'd fit at the State House. It was only in the 3rd year I really decided I was comfortable up here and I wanted to stay. So he disputes that it was all for the free tuition benefit.
Well, it may not be that. I mean, that's complete hooey. But let's remember, Nick Maniello escaped with a 93 vote victory, 83 vote victory. He may have, and I know that he was intimately involved in the re-election, because they're all part of the same team.
He represented that House district for 18 years, I believe.
So, I mean, he may have been reading tea leaves thinking, you know what, let me just keep this sucker alive. And that very well may be the motive, that the interval of the election, came in the beginning of that 3rd year. And he needed that extension for whatever tuition he was covering for his son, and then a guardian relationship that you haven't been able to figure out is what? Is that how it goes?
Right. We know it was his son that got tuition at URI, and during the interview he referred to somebody as a guardian. I think what he meant was, someone that he has guardianship over, right? And we don't know who that is, but that would have been 5 semesters at Rhode Island College.
And he hasn't freely told you who that is.
No, I mean, he went silent after our initial story for
quite a while.
Don't you think that's important?
Obviously, you think that's important. I think that's important, because what you want to make sure of is that if he has a legitimate guardian relationship with some person, young person most likely, that it's legitimate on its in another space, that it wasn't created for this kind of an environment, because then you get into a whole bailiwick of problems when if people are able to create guardian relationships for tuition benefits. Oh, that's Pandora's box.
Right, and we actually the story that it's going to air tonight, but because we're taping in the afternoon, so this will have aired on the 6 o'clock news on Channel 12 that we're working on right now. We did obtain, finally, some waiver forms from URI, which was willing to release them to us. We finally
one of the young people is at URI, not Rick.
Exactly.
Correct?
Rick will not give us documents because Rick says it's all personnel. But Frank Montanaro was not personnel at URI. URI only has forms for the student going there on tuition. So URI gave us his waivers.
Right.
So a full-time Rick faculty well, by the way, what did he do?
He was the Associate Director of Facilities and
Operations, right. $84,000 a year.
I think kind of...
So that full-time gig permits you to have state tuition in either one or three of the institutions?
All three.
It applies to, so if you work for CCRI, you
URI
could
is
send the
double
kids
the
to
nut, so,
right.
Yes. Yeah, the tuition there, for in-state, over $5,000 a semester. So as Ted points out, we were able to get the tuition waiver by asking URI. They felt it was a public document. In contrast, Rick does not feel it's a public document, but we were able to get 7 semesters there. And just so your viewers understand, this is the document that Frank Montanaro Jr. would have to fill out in order to apply for that tuition waiver, so the semester would be free.
And one of two interesting things there, a number of interesting things that
all right, if there's two or number,
yeah, take a break.
Yeah,
we'll come back.
It's a good tease,
and also
though.
ask the question, how important was his job if you can leave it for 3 years? I'm a little confused by that. In the meantime, let me just remind you that the folks at Navigant Credit Union ask you for consideration. Sorry. Now you better get a card valet.
Great people at Navigant.
There you go. Card valet, man. It's on your phone, yo, like one of these. And you just hit the app, you know how that goes, and all of a sudden all your financial information, voila, appears right in front of you. Not just like the typical online banking, but in a sophisticated way, the likes of which you've never seen before. I recommend, now that Ted's going to do it, that you check out Navigant Credit Union online at Navigant CU or any branch and ask them about Card Valet. We'll be right back. Get 'em.
You can understand why that might rub people some wrong way. You're not working there anymore.
Again, it may or may not, but again, it's a benefit afforded to me as a Rhode Island College employee, as well as all other employees in the higher ed system.
No, not necessarily. If there's a policy for 1 year leave to protect status where you sample another job, it's kind of nice. It's kind of like a buffet, an occupational buffet. I'm here, but I'd like to sample the other and carry benefits with it. And you're out to 3 years. The essence of the story, the instinct that these journalists have, and I'm sure every viewer and listener that's been following this story has, is that no, not everybody would be afforded that whole kind of a thing.
Well, and also what benefits follow you when you're on leave to protect? If you worked a job at DOT where you got a truck and you could take it home, then you leave to go to the State House to work another job, you still get that truck?
Right. Just
that's
the sense that
that's what he's arguing in terms of he gets the free college
what are
tuition.
Employee benefits? Employee benefits are compensation because you are doing work for a certain organization and they are giving you things in exchange for your labor. Leave to protect kind of breaks that bond because the whole point is you are no longer doing work for that organization. We're just giving you a right to come back, but he continued to access a compensation benefit though he was no longer performing work.
Have you guys done any research, in addition to the fine work on the story, about the nature of leave to protect?
We have.
Like, who's the rocket scientist that came up with this thing that allows people to
And it doesn't just cover union employees, you should know.
Right.
There's also, very high-level people in...
Cabinet directors.
Cabinet directors have had it.
They could, if a cabinet director failed as a cabinet director, the governor couldn't actually fire them from state service. She could just make them not a cabinet director and they get an old job back.
People in the private sector have a hard time wrapping their heads around it. just to think, if I were to leave this job and go work for another TV station and go, I don't like the fit over there, there's no way Channel 12 would allow me to come back, and that's why I think a lot of
they
people
don't want
have
us to test Channel 10 for 6 months.
That's right.
Unless it was a corporately owned station.
Right.
You might be on loan. You
Yes,
might be
exactly. It's about
relocated.
large
That's a
organizations.
good analogy.
For
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
But we actually 2 or 3 years ago now, because we don't, not every story we work on ends up on air,
2015, I
right?
think.
That sometimes ever. We actually spent a not insignificant amount of time, the two of us, sort of doing the first rounds of spade work on a leave to protect story, because we were tipped off to, like, this is weird, with someone, a state person who found it odd and said, you should look into this system, like, I find it strange, what's going on. Took us months to even get a list of who was on leave to protect. They were having trouble explaining it to us. It's not really tracked. So frankly, we've been so busy with just the Montanaro piece of this, we haven't had time.
So it doesn't just emanate from the schools.
Oh no, this is across state government.
It is
state government.
So you could be a DOT. You may jump to the Department of Education. You
Right.
could,
And the list is huge that Ted and I got.
It's more than 1,000 people.
1,500, I think.
And it's actually not centrally tracked for all of state government. So they're now, they didn't tell us at the time, but we've now learned in recent weeks that the list we got, maybe I'm tipping my hand to our competitors on what to look at, but the list we got was incomplete. Frank Montanaro is not on it, even though he was on what became a 3-year unpaid
as I'm
leave.
listening to you, and I'm glad you did that research, it makes sense to me in one sense, because if you view the governor and the Department of Administration as general managerial, akin to a private corporation, and Tim is a terrific accountant working in Department of Administration, but you know what? They need one at DOE.
Yep.
I'm going to shift you over there for 6 months or a year. By the way, we'll keep your job here because we view this as the Rhode Island Corporation. I understand that. What is actually unique and why you may not find Montanaro on there is that there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason for what is an employee position at RIC jumping to a completely non-relatable position as the head of the JCLS, which, by the way, has a lot more, you'd think, if it really requires any blood, sweat, or tears, at 155 G's a year, the skill sets are not very similar.
No.
Comparative to whatever management, maintenance operation, seems to me that he is a graduated maintenance guy.
Now, not to defend, but I think what Speaker Mattiello would say to that is you're leaving out another job Frank Montaro's held, which was being a legislator for 18 years, who knows the State House. That's what Nick Mattiello always goes back to on why Frank Montanaro is so valuable to him. He knows the State House.
I have no quarrel with Mattiello's discretion in choosing Montanaro to do that job, but it's not. It seems to me it's not comparable to the one he had at RIC.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it doesn't show up as naturally as this other, shifting around of employees would be. And by the way,
yeah, but he should still be on that list. I mean, other college employees that were on leave to protect were part of the list that was supplied to Ted and I back in 2015.
Is it because it's part of a management agreement that it may be exempted
from the list? No, they said it's because it's not centrally tracked.
Right.
Across state government.
another thing you guys kind of walked into. And then there's the question of this. You can be gone for 3 years from your gig and still have it being held for you?
Well, so it appears that the woman who now took Frank Montanaro's job on a permanent basis as of November 2016, which is interesting in itself because they filled the job 6 months before his leave ended. So there was a 6-month period where you had Frank Montanaro accessing tuition benefits as the on-leave employee for the same job that had been was now filled by someone else. Our understanding is she filled that role basically most of the time he was gone. It just wasn't made permanent until midway through his 3rd year of leave.
But okay, so he goes back to something else.
Yes.
Right. So they would have had a comparable
$80,000 job that is comparable.
They would find something for him.
Yes.
And by the way, for those people who are busting their tails paying tuition at RIC and URI, by the way, they only get 10-11% of their budget from the taxpayers. Tuition, and endowment, and whatever little they have, drives the cost of that place. I'd be livid over that. And by the way, that's maybe why you've got so much of a reaction to the story.
Now again, Speaker Mattiello, he talked to your colleague Tara Granahan on the radio the other day, and his argument on this is now in part that there's no cost to the taxpayers in this. So the outrage is sort of misplaced because there's already classes being held at URI, teachers, buildings, etc. Plop Frank Montanaro's child into that class, there's no difference. So it's really just on paper.
Well, that's completely hooey. But the other thing is that his $80,000 job matters to the tuition payers. It's part of an expense. Stay tuned to Target 12 for the latest on this. You know, these guys are like dogs seeing blood. They're not going to stop. I got to get their take, though, on finger pointing at the State House. Stay with us. By the way, before I ask about the little scene at the State Senate hearing the other night, you were teasing a couple of things about the tuition waiver situation real quick.
Just two things I found interesting on the waivers that we got that Tim and I reported on tonight. One is you have to check off on it whether you are on leave or have been on leave, and Frank Montanaro kept checking no.
Meaning he was saying I'm not on leave when he was.
For Rick.
Yeah. Right. Which we're taping your show in the afternoon, so it's possible we'll get a good answer between now and when the story airs, but that has caught our attention. That's what we're digging into today. And then also, you have to check out who got it, and sometimes the form was blank. It just, the paperwork was definitely not done to have a lot of scrutiny.
Is that maybe why he pulled back his cooperation with you on opening up the file?
Well, and I guess in a best case scenario, it's a sloppy process. You know, in a worst case, there could be more. The other interesting thing we found very briefly is one of the boxes when it's checked no, there was a handwritten note that said NA, not applicable, per agreement. We've asked for that agreement from Rhode Island College, and again, we've been denied on that. So,
all right, stay tuned on that. By the way, did you hear this little rabble-rousing at the Senate hearing the other day?
It's difficult to testify when three people are laughing.
Respectfully, when you're in front of this committee, don't ever shoot a comment out to what we're saying back here. You don't have that privilege. You don't have that standing. Whatever I'm saying back here is my business.
It's your business.
It's my business. You address the committee directly when it's your turn. Continue with your testimony. Don't ever do that again. Ever.
I refuse to sit here and be laughed at. That's what it makes you feel like when three people are laughing after I made a statement.
Directly, and don't ever do that again. Ever.
Mr. Gorman, please continue your testimony.
If you think that's bothersome, if you see the video, finger pointing, the whole thing,
it's so ugly.
You got the floor. We have a minute.
I mean, I think it feeds into sort
By the way,
of this.
Terry Gorman is a long-time advocate of his positions with the Rhode Islanders for legal immigration, whatever the hell. He's a gentleman. I disagree with him on a number of things, but he's a gentleman, and he has some citizen status.
And there's no way that's the first time Terry Gorman's testified before
Anyway,
Senate.
you were saying.
Yeah, well, look, Steve Archambault made a mistake. He admits it. He apologized for it. But
on Facebook.
Yeah, okay. But
ask God for forgiveness.
The optics of that are so bad, and it just feeds into what might be a lot of disdain that the public has for the legislature as a whole. That does not help it.
Look, I spent a lot of time up there. It's a club in many ways, and he was protecting the other members of the club.
I thought maybe Senator Ruggiero would have a loftier viewpoint and say, you know what, I'm going to censure him, if only by memo, to say that kind of activity doesn't go on around here. But he says it's between two men, private parties, and doesn't understand the message it sends to the next person who wants to come and testify to the finger-pointing thug.
Well, and Senator Archibald's voters now have to take that into consideration next year.
Yes, don't they? In Smithfield, where
right.
things get a little crazy.
You said that, not
Stay
us.
tuned to WPRI and Target 12 for the latest on the Montanaro story. Thanks, guys. You're terrific.
Thanks,
Final word when we come back. By the way, there's like real business that's going on at the State House. You know, like budgets and how our taxpayer money is being spent. We'll try to focus on that as the week wears on. It's an important week for the taxpayers. See you at 3 on WPRO tomorrow and back here tomorrow night. Thanks for watching.